So for this video here, we're going to see how to do a whole bunch of things from this chapter for working with Excel. I have it on the finding an equation of a regression line thing, but that's only one of the things we're going to see here. First, what you have to do is make sure your data is entered, and then I'm going to highlight these two data sets because we're going to need to do that for our scatter plot, which is the first thing I'm going to show. So you go into the Insert menu, and then look at the one that looks like it's a bunch of dots there in the charts settings, where you can click on that, and then you have one that says Insert Scatter, where you're going to pick the one that looks like a bunch of dots, and you're going to get this scatter plot like so. I'm going to move it out of the way of my recording thing and give it just a pretty basic title for what we're looking at, which is GDP versus CO2 emissions, where you can see that scatter plot like we got earlier. And then as far as things that we can compute here, we can get the correlation coefficient, our regression line equation, or at least the components of it, and then the standard error. So the first thing we're going to look at is how we can get the correlation coefficient, where that is using the function correl. So you do equals CORREL. Then we're going to open a parenthesis. And for this one, it doesn't matter which we put first, but because most of these functions go y then x, I'll go y then x here. So I'm going to highlight the y values first, then comma, the x values, and we'll get our correlation coefficient. Meanwhile, if we want to get our regression line, you can use equals and then linest, linest. You actually can get a whole bunch of things here, but we're just going to get our components for the regression equation. So you highlight the y list first, then comma, highlight the x list. And now you have to make a couple of determinations here, where we can determine whether we want to set b, the sort of intercept part of our equation, equal to 0, so we're going to start at the origin, or we can just have it be more general, and we're going to go with the more general version, so we're going to put in true. And then if we want more regression things with this, we can put in the true option here, but in this case all I want are a and b, so I'm going to hit false, close that off, close it up, and there we get our values as we wanted for a and b here. We get the pieces for our regression equation, 199.535 and 56.036, approximately, anyway. And then finally, if we want to get our standard error, what we would do is hit equals, STE, and then we do yx, so that's standard error of y then x, stay x as it were, and we highlight our y values again, comma, highlight our x values, and as a result we get the standard error for this estimate, where it is important to do y then x instead of x then y. We get a very different value if we go in the other direction.